IVM.
Hey there, you nerds, it's me Tejas, but not the Tejas that you know. I am one from a parallel dimension, and I'm here to tell you about what Tejas, Jishnu and Dinkar, or two of them in any particular order, are about to do, which is talk about something that you love on an episode of the Geek Fruit podcast. But here's the thing. Don't forget to find us on social media. We really need your help. We need to collect more of all of us. And you can find us on @GeekFruitHQ on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram. And you can also mail us on contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. See you in the comments section, you nerds. Hey guys, welcome to the Geek Fruit Podcast, a very special episode because we have a special guest. And I'm not talking about you, Dinkar.
Oh my god, I was so excited for like half a second there. Fine, alright, cool.
Alright, so I'm Tejas, Dinkar is here
I will
with
not
me.
speak in this episode anymore.
You know, there's a new version
I said I won't speak.
There's a new version of Don't Speak from your episode. By the way, we are coming back to our special guest.
Yes.
We have a queen of comedy with us.
Oh, cool.
But I will go so far as to say that she's more than that.
Okay.
And I'm sure people keep addressing you by that amazing thing that was bestowed on you.
You get a crown?
Do you ever have a crown?
I didn't, dude.
Oh
Okay.
man, that's
Really upset.
What a sham of a show.
May I
then.
present to you all Niveditha.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going very well.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm
But
actually
Thanks for
quite
hustling
excited.
to go and watch this movie to rush to come talk about
Guys,
it.
That's true. You saw it like only a few hours ago.
Yeah. Yes,
You
I
worked
did.
harder than any guest of ours ever has.
That's
I
true.
was really dedicated to this. As you know, I'm the one who came to you guys and I was like, I want to review Joker.
That's great. Now, I'll tell you two things. One is, this is not our first encounter with you. You were on our quiz show, our latest
Yes.
quiz series
Yep.
with Kunal Rao. So that was great and that was fun.
Man, I exceeded expectations.
You
Yeah,
did?
For
that's true.
myself.
I
Like,
mean,
I thought I was going to be bad at it, but I wasn't.
You had some singers.
Terrible.
You got some good answers. I'll give you that. But,
I got answers.
But in the end, P-Man and I destroyed you guys. It's
It
I don't know if I got it
You know what?
destroying.
Yeah, I was like 150 points over us or something.
Yeah, it was like but it was like 4 or 5 questions.
Dinkar,
The
are we
points
going to
are-
release that episode at any point? Like snippets at least?
I think we should put out snippets maybe on a bulletin next week or something.
That would be great. You guys should really check it out because it was really. I mean, yeah, of course, the quiz and the points and all that jazz. But like the main part of it was that it was a great
It was fun time. It was
so
experience
much fun.
in front of a live audience. So the next time we do, you guys should come out.
There'll be
Niveditha-
more.
Yes, I hope there will be some more. And Niveditha, thank you so much for being there for that. But the second thing is. I think you're in a special episode of the Geek Fruit podcast for this reason is that we usually are very late on our reviews and they come out like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after the fact. But this is the
On
first
purpose.
time our episode is going to come out literally the weekend after the movie releases.
Oh,
the first
man.
time,
Yeah.
I think,
No, it's not the first time for sure.
in ages.
In
and
a
we've
while,
been doing this
yes.
for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
We're not
so that's
very
quite cool.
timely.
Yeah.
We're insightful. No, we're not insightful either. What are we?
Timely.
No, neither.
Punctual.
No, right now we are.
Today we're timely.
Yes.
In general, we're not much of anything.
No, that's okay.
Wow, that's very self-deprecating.
Come on, comedians.
Yeah,
you know,
totally
you know
get
how
it.
it is. All right, speaking of comedians, all right, we saw a movie. It's called Joker. All right, it's a big one.
Yeah.
We didn't know what this movie was going to be like. Let's talk a little bit about the preamble for this.
Sure.
They announced a movie a couple of years ago. They said Todd Phillips from The Hangover is going to direct it,
Martin Scorsese was producing it.
but he didn't in the end.
He did though, no?
No, he didn't.
No? He dropped out?
I will give you some
Maybe because
some
he's...
trivia on this.
Alright, trivias.
I was speaking with my flatmate Abhimanyu, who came with us for the movie, and so basically he was telling me that he tried to get Scorsese involved so that he could lure in like a good cast, and they originally wanted
I believe
Leo.
Robert De Niro signed on because Scorsese was
And
producing.
they wanted Leonardo DiCaprio as well to play the
Yes.
role. So there was like a bunch of things happening. But
The
then
role of...
of Joker,
Oh,
of
I
Arthur
didn't know
Fleck.
that.
Yes. So, but eventually what happened was Scorsese was too busy doing Irishman and he was just like, yo, I have no time. But here's my entire like crew, like take my entire first assistant, that entire crew, which will eventually, I guess, go on to form the look and feel of the film, and you know, the entire, just the way they work together.
I think he was very
in that-
consciously going for a Scorsese template also.
and we will talk about that. That at least that era of film, you know, that 80s American cinema.
Yeah.
Very, very similar in that vein. So he gave him his entire thing, and but that's why I don't think you'll see a Scorsese credit on the film either. So you'll see, but all his important peeps are there, which is why this film.
But essentially, he dropped off because of scheduling conflicts.
I think so. Yeah, it's not like
As
he didn't
did
want
Alec
to do it.
Baldwin.
Yes, Alec Baldwin has gone on to. Alec Baldwin always says that he doesn't want to do any projects which are outside New York because he just wants to stay in New York with his family.
Yeah.
But this was set. I don't know if they shot this in New York. They shot a bit in Jersey. I know that, but I don't know anything else about where exactly.
It's definitely very New York-like. I don't know if maybe they shot it somewhere else for budget reasons or whatever.
Anyway, regardless, Alec Baldwin dropped out.
Alec Baldwin has time to do the roast of Alec Baldwin, but not this. That show is terrible.
That's true. But just anyway, coming back to it, we didn't know what to expect because this was not in the same continuity as the other films like Aquaman, Shazam, etc.
That's right.
But it was just a new banner called DC Black. I think that's what it's called.
Have they officially called it DC Black?
I think
that is the comic line.
And I think this is
comic line.
I think this is what they hope to achieve now, doing more standalone films and now definitely so because this was so successful, like critically at least.
Yeah.
I think
and we have been
commercially
excited for it. I have long said that I really like the idea of doing weirder one-off stories because like the universe thing is a little played out.
So are you saying this is like a separate thing to make superheroes or like supervillains seem more approachable?
Well, I don't know if it's approachable. I don't think that's the call. The idea is to separate it from their timeline
from the rest of their movie.
Yeah.
So this doesn't tie into Justice League or Shazam or anything else from the DC universe right now. Yeah. And there's not necessarily any sequels to this or anything. It's just a one-off weird story.
Yeah. I mean, the whole reason why Joaquin Phoenix joined this is that, and he was supposed to play Doctor Strange a long time ago, but because he was kind of wary of the multi-movie deals and stuff
he
like
wouldn't sign a contract for more than one movie.
Also, I think he's gone through a bit in his life.
He has had a difficult life, not unlike many people, but like his the tragedy of his life is profoundly in his work. Like he picks
exactly. That's
films
what I was
that are
going
very
to say.
close to I think how he wants to express himself.
Yeah,
even in his interviews and stuff.
His grief always comes through in the movies that he picks. I feel like
has he never been in a happy movie?
I don't know. Yeah, that's true. I was going to say Gladiator until the 50-minute mark.
Walk the line?
Walk the line? No, man.
Not happy again.
That one that's a disastrous end.
But he's got some happy moments in there.
Well, technically, Her is probably the most pleasant of his films.
That's true. Yes.
But with a tinge of
there's absolute melancholy is like through that film completely. But he's a high street phoenix. What can I say? Yeah. He's just he picks films that are very, very delicately assembled and made, and obviously his performance is very important to it.
Correct.
And not unlike the Joker film itself. All right. So we've talked about how this movie was made. We saw the trailer. Everybody do you like the trailer when you saw it?
Yes, I did.
It looked quite different, I suppose. Yeah.
Also, I think the trailer did one of those things where they show you what you want to see.
Yeah.
It felt like
exactly what you want to see.
Mini portrait of the film. It's like would. I think the trailer was a hard sell. I think they could have shown less, personally.
True.
But I mean, I think they had to really establish that this was very different from what the other DC films are like.
Yes.
Did you
remember
feel
that first teaser where it was just a clip of his face and
cool.
that Guess Who song playing?
Yeah.
Also good. So I feel like they set the right atmosphere for it at the least.
And I think it had to be done because this film is not set in any contemporary continuity. It's like set in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's Thomas Wayne is a character in this, like a prominent character in this. So that kind of messes up the timeline in terms of how you want to think where Joker fits into all of this generally with in context of the Batman, etc. But I think they did a brilliant job. So let's have your first impressions. Give it to me. Do you like this movie? You hate it? Are you a Joker bro? Tell me, what's happening?
Are you a Joker bro?
Yeah. I liked it. It was actually, I was pretty...
Do you like it? Yeah.
You know what? I had mixed feelings when I got out of the theater, but overall, I really enjoyed it. It really surprised me.
I think I may be in the same camp.
Yeah.
I might also be in the same camp. We're camp mixed feelings.
Yeah, camp mixed feelings. I did come out of the theater thinking about, the movie very gradually kind of won me over.
Yes.
Definitely.
That's what I was going to say. Like the first half, I was like, okay, what's going to... Like when intermission happened, I was like, now I expect something. to happen.
Well, nothing happens for the longest time.
Yes,
it's just
exactly.
That's part of the issue.
Yeah, it's just a good character portrait. But tell me, did you not feel this? And this is something that really annoyed me about I'd say the first 10-15 minutes were probably the most excruciating for me.
Yeah.
Because when I went into it, I was just like, okay, I know what I'm going to expect. I'm going to see this really haunting kind of portrayal of this really beaten down man by society, blah, blah, blah. And when it started, it opens with a line like, is it just me or do you think things are getting crazy out there? I was like, is this an SNL sketch?
It's a very on-the-nose kind of thing.
On the nose
Yeah.
of like, it's like something SNL would have done when they take like, oh, let's do a serious drama of a superhero story, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I was asking myself, is this really pretentious or is it just the beginning? And I think, and this is what really worked for me, that the points in which they leaned into the Batman mythology is when I loved it the most.
You know why though? I don't think that's just because of the Batman mythology. I think those are the moments where there's some kind of progression in the plot.
Absolutely.
Because there's not much of a plot otherwise. I was saying, so like the first scene of this movie is you see Arthur Fleck, Joker, pre-Joker,
Right.
spinning a sign on the street, right? And then a bunch of kids jump him and snatch his
Yes.
sign and
Yeah.
then beat him up.
I was just like, oh, and you know, they're beating him up.
And-
They didn't take his money. They don't
Yeah.
do anything. They just beat him up and say like, kick this guy, man.
Yeah.
For
For no
up, man. I was
reason.
just like, you, come on.
And the thing is, this entire movie is essentially that happening repeatedly and just basically stronger and stronger. So like the first scene he's beaten up and then there's basically just terrible stuff happening to him all the time. Which is fine,
Yeah.
but that's not much of a story.
Yeah, it's not much of a story.
So like whatever happens at the end, which we're not going to spoil right now.
We'll get to the end
But
of-
if
yeah.
you remove if you showed that first part and the thing that happens at the end, which, okay, spoiler alert, he becomes Joker.
Yeah,
Fine.
all right.
Okay, because like society's shit on him too much. That's
Yes.
the gist of it.
That's
Everyone
essentially
knows
it.
this was going to happen. But if you took out the entire middle chunk of the movie and just said like he got beaten up real bad one day and then he decided to go Joker, as a character, that's still a logical arc.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What happens in this movie is essentially like just hammering on that one theme again and again.
I mean, and I guess they have to do it to satisfy a few things that are, talked about later on in the film.
I get it, but that's why doing it really well is key. So this movie really works in the moments where they do it well, and there are moments where they kind of laid on a little too thick and they
Yes.
stand out.
Yeah, you know what I think about movies like The Joker is that people already have all the backstory.
Yeah.
They know what they want to see
Absolutely.
already. They know who that character is. They know why they like or dislike the character. So these movies that they make take a lot for granted when they're making it.
Yeah.
Because they know the audience already knows a bunch of things.
But do you
and
think
they
they
don't
know-
put effort into really digging deep into what this is, because they know, like when you look at Arthur,
Yeah.
you already know what he feels.
Yeah.
Did you feel like, I felt like weirdly, it's not like I am in no way in his position in life, but you can feel empathetic towards that character because
Yes.
this is, he's a product of how society functions sometimes, especially during that era when, there was lots of crime, and Gotham is something that is, even that's like a real world thing. It's not
Yeah.
just Gotham, but Gotham is known for that. So you can see that he's essentially like a Joe Chill character from,
Yes.
Batman Begins, or like the character. Basically, Joe Chill is the guy who in the Dark Knight universe who kills the Waynes, right? So, but in that speech which Katie Holmes gives in Batman Begins, where she says, you're gonna go kill this guy, but this is, like, it's really because of mob bosses and an entire system that is creating more and more Joe Chills and more poverty, which is why there's more crime, etc. So you can see that he is a product of that, but he is different. He is special for reasons
Because
of the story.
he turns into a symbol for that, really.
Man, that's what I loved about this film.
Yeah.
I think what is so amazing is that in Batman Begins, and it's hard for me to not compare this to Batman Begins more so than the Heath Ledger Dark Knight performance. But Batman Begins is essentially about a man who becomes a symbol, becomes larger than what he is as a human. And this is just that same story from the reverse. Like, it's like the antithesis. He really truly is, like, the Joker is the anomaly to the Batman. And this whole theme of you get what you deserve, which is so powerful in the film, like, for me, when I was watching it, it's like, at the end, I think showing the shot of Bruce Wayne, while he, at the last few where he's in the psych ward and stuff, showing the shot of Bruce Wayne is important because that's what the Joker deserves. Like, he is essentially creating his own, like, future. And I love that it becomes like a closed loop, you know, like, essentially. Like, that eventually at some point, because of his actions, that's what he deserves, you know, like. So I think that was quite cool.
Like, with this movie, there's a bit of a like having your cake and eating it too kind of situation, because they tried very consciously to not go with the Batman mythology, but also they tie it into it somewhat towards the end, which seems to me like a shortcut.
I don't know if I needed to see the Waynes get murdered again, you know, in this film. We've seen it happen so many times.
Yeah, it wasn't really necessary.
No, but I will say this.
The twist in how they get murdered.
Yeah, it's cool. We will get to that. Yeah. I mean, the Waynes getting murdered, it happens, all right?
Yeah.
But you know what I like about that is that that's something that is, it is inevitable, right? Like, the timeline that this universe kind of makes happen is because these people get murdered. Yeah. And I think that's like the constant across
any Batman iteration.
Exactly. That's what I love about it. It's like, no matter what you do, it's like the Uncle Ben of, like, you know, what they say in the Marvel comics is that everyone can come back to life except Uncle Ben. And I think the same is true for the Waynes. You know, like, they must die.
Except
for this.
In, like, a flashpoint.
Yeah. Well, even then, right? Like,
even then,
the corrective measure, right? Like, but that's
for the universe to continue.
Which I really. So every time this movie kind of laid it on really, like, hardcore with the character work, I was like, okay, cool, this is a great film, and Joaquin Phoenix holds it, you know, like, really well. But the points where they lean into the Batman mythology are the points where I was just like, okay, this is great.
Exactly, and that feels like a shortcut that the movie took in parts to me. So let's do this. Let's take a break and come back, and I'd like to see what we think of this movie just by itself. Like, let's not think about it in terms of what it does to Batman, because that's what they asked for.
You think that's possible?
I mean, we've already discussed the Batman relation. Now let's talk about it by itself.
Yep.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you are not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I have an announcement for all of you, at least, you know, the couple of dozen of you who are listening to us on SoundCloud. Come the end of October, early November, we're going to be discontinuing that channel. We're not really going to be making our content available on SoundCloud anymore. So if you are listening on SoundCloud, you can have a number of options. I say the best option is downloading the IVM Podcast app. But if not, you can download another podcasting app and you'll be able to find our content over there. We have a couple of new shows launching this week. Let me tell you about those. The first is called Boundless. This is hosted by Natasha Malpani Oswal. She reads her poems on mental health, relationships, family, marriage, and many other topics, and narrates personal anecdotes around these poems. Tune in to new episodes every Monday and Wednesday starting from 7th October. Postcards from Nowhere is hosted by Utsav Momoria. It's a travel podcast where Utsav talks about his journeys to obscure and fascinating places around the world. He explores the culture, history, and people from these places in the form of stories and gives you tips and tricks on solo travel. Tune in to new episodes every Thursday starting from the 10th of October. Here's what else you got on the IVM Podcast Network this week. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by Tej Brar, founder and managing director of Third Culture Entertainment. He tells Cyrus the stories behind his tattoos, talks about the upcoming Neon East Festival, and living in different places around the world from Boston to DC to Delhi. The 150th episode of Simplified is finally here. You sent in your questions and topic suggestions. Now listen to Chuck, Naren, and Shrikit tackle them. On The Habit Coach, Ashton is joined by Shimi Nadraja and Jessica Gabrielli from Power and Posture. They talk about the importance of arm balancing and how handstands can improve posture and build up core strength. On Tech Careers in the News, Shilithya is joined by Jayan Swami and Namrata Maheshwari, Chief Data Architect and Senior Architect at Accenture, to talk in detail about data points. On Golgappa, Trupti is in conversation with actress Sayali Phatak. They talk about her experience in theatre, acting as well as dancing. On Paperback, Rachita and Satyajit talk to Nirbhay Kanoria, the co-founder of online literary magazine The Curious Reader. He lists his favorite non-fiction books and the trends of reading on digital platforms. On Kinetic Living, Coach Urmi shares a surprise workout on Tabata Tuesdays, and on Thriving Thursdays, she shares a story that made her realize just how fragile life is. On Football Shutball, Gaurav, Karthik and Siva round up the Premier League weekend and talk about the absolute demolition Bayern Munich inflicted upon Tottenham. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh are joined by Pratik Sinha, editor and co-founder of Alt News. They discuss the anatomy of fake news and its prevalence in today's time. And with that, let's get you on with your shows.
Welcome back to the Geek Food Podcast. So we're going to try and address this movie as a standalone film because that's what they asked for. And I just said that before the break. This is that moment where I'm recapping like the last 30 seconds. Niveditha, this movie as a standalone film, what do you think?
I like it because it is made to be a standalone film. I think if you weren't a fan of the story, you would still get what this film was trying to say, or you would still understand Joker from scratch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was not just a backstory. And it wasn't about him, was it? It was more about the way he feels.
Yeah.
More than who he is.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie, they're
Very
only
true.
focusing on how he feels. His expressions in the movie are all of it. Like, there's hardly any dialogue in the first half.
He doesn't speak as much except at the end.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, he doesn't have much.
I'm going to
dialogue.
really have to watch this movie again to pause at the parts where there's stuff written. I was so annoyed that
There
I
was a
couldn't
lot of
do
giant
that.
pages of
yeah, there were
text. Oh my God.
giant pages that had so much written on them. I tried so quickly to read through the entire page.
And did you
but I
watch an
couldn't do
IMAX?
it.
It was just like you had to
Yeah,
look from
exactly.
side to side.
I was trying so hard, but I know I'm going to watch this again and read through the lines of his
Yeah.
jokes, of everything, because
Yeah.
I'm sure
There's something hidden in there for sure.
not hidden.
I mean, like Easter
but
eggs
there's
and
meaning
stuff.
to it.
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
meaning to everything that he's written. And I just like the way they followed his. I was just talking about this after I finished the movie. I was talking about this to whoever watched the movie with me. I went with another comedian, and we were talking about how this is such a male perspective
Yes.
Yeah.
of things. Like, the rage that he feels is a very masculine energy.
It's
an incel vibe.
It's an incel vibe.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a very
yeah.
masculine energy, and they really dig deep into that feeling in the movie. Like,
Yeah.
you really see it creep up into him, and I think that's why they made the first half the way it was. At intermission, I was like, this was really slow, but I think there's a reason for why
Yeah.
it was. They really wanted the audience to empathize with how he was feeling, and you can see how you don't feel that way, but you know why he feels that way.
Yeah.
Like, you would think I would never react that way to a situation
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But also at the same time, you know why he's doing it.
I
That
mean,
progression is
yeah.
quite. That build is actually really great.
It's
it
really
starts
well
out
done,
slow,
yeah,
but it starts out with regular daily injustices,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, he's being dealt a bad hand at his job, and like kids are mean to him or whatever. But it goes on to like cross a threshold, and that transformation is clear in the way Joaquin Phoenix plays it, which
Yeah.
he's done just such a fantastic
No,
job.
and
he's
also
awesome.
it affects his life. Like,
Yes.
it affects his daily life. Things in his job, he loses his job. Is this
Yeah.
a spoiler?
yeah.
So things, because it affects his life directly, it makes him react.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the turning point. That's when he actually becomes violent.
Yeah.
At the point where he feels like everybody else is ruining his life.
Well, I mean, for me, I felt like the turning point of the film for me is at the point where he has the option to defend himself in that train, sequence with those three
Yeah.
Wayne employees.
Okay, full spoilers going forward, I suppose.
Full spoilers going forward. All
It
right.
looks like it.
Yeah, so
'Cause I don't know. I know for a fact that you're gonna spoil it.
yeah, okay. No,
Right
I was just talking
So
about
I'm
it
just
without
putting out a
spoiling
warning.
it.
Oh, are you? Cool.
I
Then
was.
go on. Let's try and keep it spoiler less.
I was trying, but if you want to go ahead, I can go ahead. But it's not a big deal.
No, don't go ahead.
All right, so for me, the turning point happens there for the simple reason he has the option to defend himself from an injustice that is happening to him by accident. A lot of the things that happen to him in this
Yeah.
film are by accident, but he, from being a nobody to being like a guy on the biggest show on television, he handles all of them like
Very confident.
yeah, very perfectly well, and it's almost like he's ready for it because he does watch this TV show
Yeah.
on a daily basis because of his mom, blah blah blah. The reason why I feel like I can't empathize as much with the way, like with his decisions. Obviously, none of us would do this. Is a comic book character. It needs to be absolutely clearly stated that this is a comic book character. But the reason why you can't is because you find out that of his past and how he was of his history of his life and what the injustices that happened to him as a kid. So obviously he has this condition where he laughs, which you don't know if it's true or not. So he's got like a bunch of issues. So then none of us really like possess enough to know that, oh, okay, cool, that's exactly what somebody would do. In fact, Joaquin Phoenix even went on record to say that I wanted to perform this role in such a way that no psychiatrist or psychologist could identify exactly what the issues were, but it's like it's like a blanket of just a bunch of issues that that we don't have, but we can just feel bad for him. I think that's important. I think the empathy to feel like, oh, this guy has had a bad, hand. He's been drawn a bad hand. But that's about it. Not to kind of say that, I get why he's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. It's the other thing. Like I feel that that's how I feel.
That's
about
how
it.
you
Yeah.
I feel like us in this room are probably sensible enough to take that away. But I do believe most of the issue with this movie has been
which is why we want to talk about
there
that.
is a sympathetic angle to the way this character is portrayed. That's not. I mean, essentially, the logline you can take away from the movie is that this guy, man, he was dealt a bad hand. Thank God he took matters into his own hands.
Right. There's a famous, what do you call it, comic book called The Killing Joke, which has been referenced 1,000 times on this show and also in reference to the film that is, in theaters now. I always feel like, even in that, that comic book, it talks about like one bad day. All you need is one really terrible day to kind of push you over the edge and, do things that you would never think you were doing. And there is a moment like that in this film. And I think by accident, he starts this kind of revolution that he has really nothing
that he doesn't care about.
He doesn't really care about it, but he accepts that, he's now speaking for a bunch of people. And there were like a bunch of films that I felt like were very similar. And like, I don't know if you've seen like Network. Have you seen Network?
Yeah.
So in that, if the last scene particularly reminded me a lot of that.
Yes.
So there was just like few instances of where they've pulled from to kind of get this character from point A to point B. But it was,
this is a
awesome.
pastiche of a lot of things. But now we're talking about our thoughts on the character itself. This movie, what is the turning point in the movie for you where you felt like, all right, I'm on board and this is, I like this movie.
Where we
now?
liked the movie?
Yeah.
I think there was one
there was one
really
big
clear,
twist, and I was like,
Yeah, I think everyone who was saying that was like, that's so simple, but so good.
It was really well done.
Yeah. I mean, and I think everybody who's listening pretty much knows who has seen the film. But tell me one thing, this twist where, he finds out a bit of information about himself. Okay, tell me, has that never been done before? Like, what a simple,
think,
but
right? Yeah.
what
it was
great
really smartly done.
Speculation.
Yeah.
F***ing brilliant. Like, all
great.
of us were like, wow, that's really smart.
Yeah, you could
Our
hear.
producer Shlok is looking at us right now. He has no idea what's happening. Are your headphones on? Okay, cool. We won't put that. Let's talk about. Let's spoil that little bit of the film. It is not the film. But
you could hear a collective gasp in the theater when it happened. Like,
So basically, the entirety of the film, Arthur Fleck's mother has been writing emails to Thomas Wayne saying that his family. Letters, yeah. Writing. Oh, I said emails?
You said emails.
Oh my God.
You interpreted them as emails. Writing emails on paper.
Dismiss. Mark as read. So basically, she keeps writing these letters, and upon one day he kind of looks at it and he sees that she's said that, you have to take care of your son, Arthur Fleck, and which implies that, is Thomas Wayne the Joker's dad?
Possibly.
That's it, right?
That's a great thing to add in. But again, I feel like it's relying on the mythology.
Which is what I want. I don't want... Here's my thing. For a Joker film, I don't want a completely isolated character study of a guy who goes insane and starts a revolution.
But that's what this movie tried to be.
No, I don't think it only tried to be that. I think it tries to... like you have told me before, that it's just a lens upon which you can view the story, right? Like, I think the cool thing about this film is that it starts off as a real, hardcore analysis of this guy who's in this thing, but it ends with such pulp that is... And I started seeing like the closest this version of this Joker is to the Mark Hamill Joker from the cartoons.
Kind of.
Like there's one scene which is at the end, which is so brilliant, where he looks into the camera and he's talking, and I was just like, this is exactly Mark Hamill from the Batman animated series. And I was just like, how did they make this happen from here, the beginning of the film, to get onto this show? It's just like very slow, gradual kind of thing to the end, where he makes it to the end and he addresses the camera as the Joker, which is fucking epic, man.
And
very so good.
And very depressing in the sense that they give you a look into how much he adores this person in this show. Like he basically wants that person to be his dad.
Man, yeah, exactly.
Literally,
in How I Met Your Mother, Barney's dad is.
And just the letdown is so huge.
And you know what? It's not unlike what talk show hosts have done before. Like obviously, when he says, Murray, you're awful too. You just brought me here because you want to laugh at me.
Yeah.
And it's like, you remember that guy guy from what was it, from American Idol? The guy who said you used to dance she bangs, whatever. The
William Hung?
William Hung. Man, William Hung made it to pretty much every talk show post that performance, and it's kind of like, I think he was in on the joke, but it felt like he wasn't.
Talk shows have always got a lot of flack, like the Monica Lewinsky thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
They
like,
said they blamed the talk shows for the entire thing. Like,
so, but you know, he's right in this. You know, Robert De Niro, he's saying, no, he'll be great. You bring him onto the show, and we'll take his case basically on the show, and it'll be entertainment for everybody. And he gets a chance to be on the show, which is something that he wants. But he tells me, he's like, yo, you're not that good either.
Yeah.
And you get what you deserve.
yeah, but it's a good reflection. It's just that, like, a normal person wouldn't feel that the rage wouldn't be as amplified as it is.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's a lack of self-awareness.
Absolutely.
Where basically you don't, I mean, everyone would have, if you really looked up to a talk show host and they played a clip of you and made fun of you on air, you'd feel terrible.
Yeah.
But your self-awareness would basically kick in at some point and you'd go like, right, okay,
I get it.
Maybe I was being really dumb. I get why they're laughing at me.
I mean, it's a rare. I feel like, I don't know, like the William Hung thing. It reminded me of that.
William Hung went on the show very sincerely, but then when people started like laughing at how over the top he was like, "Cool, I get what you guys are laughing at."
Maybe he's in on the joke, but it didn't feel like that when it happened. Beginning.
It's not good, and I don't think they should have laughed at him in the first place.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that kind of shit at all. And the fact that he's right in this situation is brilliant. And it's like the first time you see the Joker really angry. It's like, I don't think you get to see that very often. Like him really kind of being like...
Yes, but then, I mean, I don't know. There has to be
cool.
like... There's nuance here.
Yeah, of course. No, it was great. It was nice to see that. Man, when he puts on that suit and he's walking from after he leaves the cops in the...
He's dancing on the stairs.
And he comes...
That's a great scene,
What a beautiful scene.
Man, when he comes... Like, he walks towards the camera and it's like this great kind of close-up. Man, I was looking and I was just like, yo, this guy is the Joker. It's great. Like, there's a huge transformation in his body language. You know, he's always slouching and then, like, you know, suddenly
the
he's
confidence.
Like, so much confidence.
Yeah.
Amazing. And, you know, I was even wondering, like, you know, while I was watching, I was like, why is he dyeing his hair green? Like, what has that got to do? Is it like, is he just following the thing? But then, you know, I saw the mask has green hair on it and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So everything is, like, nicely written out.
There's an internal logic.
Yeah, there's a good internal logic to this, which I flippin' love.
It's really
man. It's
like
great.
as if he's found himself finally. Like that part where he says that, you know, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And then now he knows.
Yeah, it's true.
And he's not like a joke. If he is a joke, well, that's who he is.
That's
and
great.
he's accepted it.
I love that.
And I like how he never really anticipates that he's going to be this mass leader.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he doesn't anticipate. Like when he's running away from the cops, he gets into the train and he just takes
shoves
someone's mask.
Yeah.
And then he walks and those guys start fighting. And it's almost like he looks around and he's like, what idiots.
And that was like his kind of like anarchist kind of moment.
Yeah.
Like you feel that like, oh, I can just do whatever I want. It's great. I love
and he just
that.
walks away. So that's where the Joker's mindset is set from. Like now he thinks that every human has this bad side
that's
in
true.
them. Like, and you can bring it out.
Yeah.
Because now if you think about it, every plot is Joker trying to prove to Batman that all humans are bad.
Yeah. That's
and
essentially what's been there
things.
in the previous in the comic books with it's the one bad day.
and that's
One bad
because
day
he
thing as
saw
well.
it happen. He just that's why he was always safe, because there's like a bunch of people that are willing to root for him throughout his life.
Yeah.
Like people who are willing to let him escape.
Yeah.
Like someone who doesn't have the guts to be as full of rage as he is.
Yeah.
So they help him do it. They're like,
Yeah.
here, Joker, you go do that crazy shit you're about to do, and we'll just stand around and cheer for
Man,
you.
yeah,
I
that was
think they
incredible, that
really,
scene.
they really set that up in that scene. And then when the police are taking him away from the talk show, he's looking out of the window, going, "Isn't it great?"
Man, that shot was so much like The Dark Knight. Oh my gosh, it was exactly
very, like almost framed the exact same way.
It's a mirror image,
the
and
reverse shot,
in the other one, Heath Ledger has his head sticking out the window.
Then he
and
does
he's
his like dog impression.
Dog impression, yeah. It was great. I mean, this movie, it really, like, the more I think about it, and the more I kind of involve it into this whole mythology of the Batman universe, and wow, this is such an interesting take. That's the kind of position from which I really like the film, because I know that there are other films which do the same story.
Yeah.
This exact same story, but, take anything from A Taxi Driver to any, to any kind of film where it's just like a hardcore like study of a person trying to cope, or some kind of like Scorsese classic. It's always about that. But now we watch it, but with the Batman's like mythology involved. I just really like that. I think it's really cool.
I'll tell you what my issue with the way it's done in this movie is. It's what I was saying at the start, which is that it's the same angle hammered harder and harder. So like the difference with something like A Taxi Driver, which is essentially the same arc, right, is that there are redeeming characters also. Like you can see how Travis Bickle is like essentially Breaking Bad in Taxi Driver, but there's someone like Jodie Foster's character who represents something different. This movie, and that's why the Joker as an embodiment of anarchy in the Batman movies works, because there's a balancing act, right?
Correct. There's no,
which is why I feel like what we really liked about this movie is also where it ties into the Batman mythology, because we're like, we get where this fits in and why he is the way he is to the why he's the opposite side of the coin to Batman. But this movie by itself, there's not one person in this movie who treats the Joker with any sympathy. Barely.
Except for the guy who he says he's like, you're the only one who's been ever nice to me.
Correct. The one person he spares.
Funny.
So good.
Which is so weird. But so I basically just feel like there's a lack of nuance there, in the sense that you don't show anything other than this one point of view, and that's very clearly what the movie was trying to do. And the thing is, they do it really well. So
I think what they're trying to do to you from the beginning to the end, which is actually strange, is that in the beginning he is a very sympathetic actor. You want to kind of say that, this guy is like, this is so sad, but by the time he gets to the Joker, you're supposed to be like, oh no, now I don't get it anymore. But you
even
get
when you were talking about him on the talk show just now, you were saying like, and the amazing thing is that he was right? Because this movie never gives you any perspective. Like, you're literally inside Arthur Fleck's head the entire time.
No, I mean,
you're seeing the world the way he should.
He's right about the way Murray is in this universe,
Correct.
right? Like that he's basically exploiting him.
That's
everyone.
I agree, but I think we're looking at it from a worldview of his character, right? Like you're going to see that.
And I'm saying that is kind of my issue with this movie. Again, I really like it, and I think they did that. Like they were going for exactly that, and they did it really well. But it's also kind of just a myopic way of looking at a universe, going like, this is all this guy, this is all he thinks about.
I think I know why they would play on that, because so he's a person who's constantly bullied by everybody in his life, and if you go back and think about your own life and the people that you hate in your life, you've had good experiences with these people sometimes, like if they were friends or exes, you've had good moments with them, but once your relationship goes bad, you only remember the most hurtful ones.
Exactly.
We're a grudge-holding race.
It's a very prominent memory in your mind.
But my position on this is that, like, you are supposed to look at his character as the hero, right? And everybody else is a villain. Like, I think that's the intention of the film, right? He is supposed to be the positive force there, where he is trying to find meaning in his life. If this was a Pixar movie, it would be a guy who's like a bit of a loser.
I'm not coming at this from a morality angle. Morality-wise, we're fine, and there are people who are going to misinterpret this movie, and there's little we can do about that. I'm saying,
even in the theater, there was like this
Joker Bros.
Joker Bros.
The scene that we're talking about, the scene that we can't talk about in the talk show. After that happened, there was literally like a bunch of people that fist pumped in the air and went, woo!
That's inappropriate.
I mean, like, in the context of a movie theater, fine. You can make anyone. I mean, we've spoken about this before, right?
That's a slippery slope. But okay,
I
get to
know
the morality of it. What I'm saying is, as a movie, this is not as strong as it could have been to me, because there's a lack of balance. Like, there's no yang to the yin. You know what I mean? Which is like, so something like A Taxi Driver is streets ahead of this movie.
Yeah, sure,
simply because there's a more balanced perspective. It's still a character study. You're still inside Travis Bickle's head the entire time, but it's a way better movie just because they managed to tell a more rounded story.
But for me, it's like, I'm not looking at this film to give me like
closure.
Those kind of like if I want to watch a Taxi Driver type film, I'll watch Taxi Driver.
Well, this dude essentially made Taxi Driver.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yes,
it's
it is.
No, but the entire third act is not at all like Taxi Driver. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same arc that he's going for.
But I'd say it's a lot more like King of Comedy than
Because
in
of
terms
the talk
like,
show angle,
right?
sure. Yeah.
But
again, like Rupert Pupkin is not like a sympathetic character at any point.
well, he's not. Yeah, you're
You
right.
feel bad for him, but you never go like, yes, he fucking did it.
I think the agenda of this film is to highlight. It's like an origin story, but this
Yeah,
time
it's
for a
Correct,
villain.
that's
right?
what. So
it's for a villain.
That's what I'm
it.
saying. That as a standalone film, it is weaker because it only really makes sense when you treat it as an origin story in the Batman mythology, and then you go like, right, there's something that balances out why the Joker ends up like this. So as a movie by itself, there's no counter
But
argument.
what were you expecting?
There's no conflict, essentially.
Who will be the?
What
I
I'm
wouldn't say
saying,
there's
like,
no
it's
conflict.
essentially what I was saying at the start.
I
right?
think there
It's
is conflict,
There's
for sure.
conflict, but not
there's-
with
for
Joaquin
me, there's
Phoenix's
no-
character.
there
There's
is
one
no-
way his character
I think
goes.
the whole film is conflict, right? It's not. You would
That
decide.
doesn't count as conflict. Like, if the entire thing is just like shit keeps happening to this dude all the time, that's one.
No, I said like there's
flat
no
arc.
introduction, conflict, resolution kind of thing. For me, it's
Yeah.
like there's conflict and there's this resolution and that's it. And I think that's
But all
okay.
from the point of view of one character, so it's not like there's conflict within the guy. It's not really in terms of the plot.
Man, I think it's intentionally made that way. But like,
No, I get it. Like it might feel unsatisfying because of that reason, because it doesn't have balance. It might feel unsatisfying as a movie.
It's because you can't. Then you can't
Yeah,
make a
that's
Joker
because
film without Batman.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's the issue here,
If
really.
you don't get closure because there's no, that's just how comics. But the thing is, in the comic book world, you have like an adventure. Like there's a plot to it. Here, the plot is the guy's feelings.
Yeah.
That's what the plot is.
No,
it's
I
just
think-
an analysis of who he is.
Okay, and let's take
I'm
a short break.
saying that there's. We will take a
Okay,
short
we'll
break.
take a short break and we'll
yeah.
come back and talk about this.
India's a massive subcontinent home to truly stunning diversity. Behind the veils of smoke that obscure our thriving cities, our history is still alive, glimmering like sequins, waiting to be discovered. And if you, like me, are straining to hear the echoes of our past, this podcast is for you. I'm Anirudh Kanisetti, a history and geopolitics researcher, and I host Echoes of India, a history podcast about India, by Indians, and for Indians. In Echoes, we journey through the complex histories of South Asia and what they can teach us about our globalized world. Tune in every Wednesday on ivmpodcast.com or your favorite podcast app.
Alright, so Jishnu has sent this in. It's a voice note from a fan. He's told me to just play it in the episode. So.
Let's do it.
Yeah, hi, my name is Kishore. I'm from Chhattisgarh and I'm a first time listener, last time caller, big fan here, this side myself, and I wanted to share some thoughts on the Joker film. Yeah, this guy was very good to see on screen, but very entertaining. I would say I had a good time. But you know, the thing was, if this movie wasn't really in the Batman lore, then it would have been a much better film, I think, honestly, in my opinion, it was quite good. But then when I saw this young man, the Bruce boy, coming in, and then his mother and the father and all these things, I was led to believe this would go somewhere else, like with something to do with that and them. And I was then distracted by where is this going? When is he going to become this Bat boy and all this? Is that an Alfred? Is that a what? I don't know who that man was next to him, at the gate. I'm wondering all these things. But these things have nothing to do with this Joker, man, So I was very entertained by the thought of this mental illness and all these things, I've always been fascinated by how you can look at the mind of the killer and all these things, But then this Bat boy comes and I'm thinking to myself, now these are thoughts that will not get answered, this is standalone movie and all this. So my point I'm trying to make, boys here, I'm saying is that it's a great film. It's a very fun film. But about halfway through, it started to just do anything it was, and I didn't really think it had a climax. It was just going somewhere else, and then it just ends because you now know, okay, so now the story begins. But what is the point, you tell me? What's the point of the story when it has no end? And you now have to think, okay, now I will go read 80 years of some comic book. But I don't know anymore. But this is why I come to you, huh? So tell me your thoughts. I'm a big fan. This side, Chhattisgarh. My name, I forget, but good time. Thank you.
So that was Kishore from Chhattisgarh.
Sounds more like he's Anuradha from West Bengal.
Let me say,
he sounds like
Jishnu has no idea what someone from Chhattisgarh sounds
Jishnu
like.
has no idea what other people sound like.
I'm from Chhattisgarh. This is what I sound like. This is how we all talk.
How are you from Chhattisgarh?
My dad's from Chhattisgarh.
Yeah, but you're like more of a Telugu boy.
Of a South Indian, yes, a Telugu boy.
That
It's
sounded
cool.
totally Malayali, by the way.
Oh, I saw it. I thought he was doing like a very racist Parsi impression.
I thought he sounded like a auntie
This
from
is
Calcutta.
very interesting. So he has this like Rorschach test of an accent. Maybe this is revealing our own inner biases.
Yeah,
I
I
heard
think
like
of
a distinct like Parsi uncle thing. You heard
Yeah, I mean,
Bengali.
I don't know, I haven't met a Parsi uncle.
JJ is a good reference for this, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right. So interestingly,
But
though,
in his own
why did he do this is what I was going to ask. But anyway, besides the point. So he says that he didn't like any of the Batman mythology. He would have just preferred a standalone film.
Is that what he was saying?
Essentially,
I felt like he was saying something.
Like he felt like that was too much of a deviation from where the story could have gone.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that I think it's important to reference. I feel like the Joker story is important because it has reference to the world of Gotham, etc. Maybe it shouldn't have been with Thomas Wayne, but that was a decision. I thought that was a really smart decision, the way they got that family involved. Because it really digs at the
Gives
foundation
reason.
of these two characters who are, so to speak,
Obsessed with each other.
Yeah, inseparable, right? Like they are the anomalies of each other, etc. The Neo Smith
And there's
kind
a
of
chemistry
thing.
between them.
Absolutely,
There is,
yeah. There
definitely.
always has been, whether it's in the comics or the movies or anything else. I mean, they're always trying to outdo it. Whether it's Adam West and Cesar Romero or like Heath Ledger, Christian Bale, there is definitely tension there, and I think maybe they didn't have to reference the Wayne family and make it so close to home, but I thought it was cleverly done. And I also think that the story of the Joker should be rooted within Gotham and within like these ideas, at least. I think so I'm really fine that they did it.
I'm also okay that they did it, and I got the impression that he was also saying that it feels like a prologue that doesn't really lead to anything.
Yeah, it feels more like a prequel. I agree.
I agree with him there.
Yeah, I agree with that it's
and
like a prequel.
I get where you're coming from, and what I'm saying is that's precisely why we like this movie, because we know like this larger story.
Yeah.
But again, like everyone in this movie, right down to Thomas Wayne, is an asshole.
I think that's a perspective, man. I mean,
That's what
it's
I mean.
a full perspective.
So it feels like
Thomas
again,
Wayne
to bring back my point repeatedly, much like this movie does. It's the same perspective over and over again, and I feel like there's a lack of fleshing out of the rest of it. Like, it feels unrealistic to me. Like, what I was saying at the start of this episode was, if right after that first scene, the Joker went nuts and went like, well, then I'm going to burn this entire place down.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing as a microcosm.
I agree. I just feel like it's more to me like an unreliable narrator, like to the film.
There is there's one particular twist that kind of hammers that home. The fact that what we're seeing is not necessarily
it's not
true.
real, right? So it's like kind of an unreliable, and there are other points in the film which kind of lean into that
But
idea.
I don't think that's done well enough. Really.
I mean, it's not done enough. I don't know if it's done well enough.
It's a Fight Club vibe.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought,
Right?
but they didn't do it as well as they
Exactly.
I feel like if they had a few more of those, but a couple of things that really make me interested in this plot, and particularly because it's the Joker, I am not looking at this film like it's Taxi Driver, right? Like as I mentioned, but I am looking at it as like how it has its relevance to the stories that I love, and like the couple of things that made it really interesting for me is that. We don't really have much conclusion to the ideas that are presented in this film, in the sense that Thomas Wayne in one speech is saying he's like everybody who looks up at people who have money are basically are just jealous and they're envious of us who have worked hard to get there. Now this is just a statement. The way it's viewed is that it's from like this 1% versus 99%, something that's still relevant today.
Yeah.
So I really like that idea. And he also says that in that same speech, which is kind of dismissed very quickly, is that he's like, I am the only one who can help this city lift itself out of poverty.
Thomas Wayne is a Trump in this.
But I mean, the fact that he's saying only one, the way you view it is like maybe the other candidate is not a good enough candidate, and he's saying that I'm the only one who can help you. Trust me, and I will do it. Now, every other incarnation of this character has helped Gotham prevail for a little while longer before, after it's, but then until their demise, it kind of goes back to, the city which is in ruins and, and is beset with crime. So I really like the idea that maybe Wayne is a good guy, and when Arthur Fleck even approaches him in the bathroom, which looks exactly like the PVR bathroom.
Yeah.
And PVR. Basically, he says, "You come near my son, I'll fucking kill you."
Yeah.
Now tell me something. When you see it from Arthur's point of view, it's like, this guy is an asshole. But dude, you have a random guy who's come to my house playing with my kid. I don't know who he is.
Of course you're gonna be angry, yeah.
Of course you're gonna... and he's a strange dude who's insinuating that you are his... That's like... Obviously he's gonna get mad, right? So the interesting thing about this film is that it's presenting a perspective that we are only seeing from one side. And like Dinkar said, but I'm saying that's kind of interesting. Like, there is no real closure to the fact that whether this guy is his kid or not. Like, I like the idea that maybe Thomas Wayne is the one who's powerful enough to, forge paperwork and make it seem like his mother was crazy.
Yeah.
Or at the same time, maybe his mother was crazy and he was abused as a child and he was tied to a radiator. Blah, blah, blah. Gotham City is where all this kind of shit happens. There's so many villains in the city who have come out of these kinds of situations that this is something that could have happened within that storyline. So I really like this pull and push of like, is it real, is it not real? I like that.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't feel like this movie made a strong enough case for that. Like, that's a possible way of reading it, but it didn't really push too hard in that direction.
Yeah, I don't think it... I mean, it was too concerned with the fact that how good is Joaquin Phoenix playing this role. Yeah, as opposed to the story aspect of it.
To come to Fight Club...
Yeah.
Essentially a movie that makes a very similar point in a lot of ways, and also a movie that has its fair share of bros who completely misunderstand the point of the movie.
I mean, first of all,
it makes it pretty unequivocal by the end, right? What is happening? I don't know if this movie quite gets there.
Yeah.
And I have my issues with Fight Club as well.
Why?
I have issues.
I think it's because of this movie was made for fans.
Mm-hmm.
And Fight Club is an actual standalone film. It has no background. It has no continuation.
Well, it does actually now.
Yeah.
That is a sequel.
Yeah.
But when it was made as like a story.
Yeah.
But this is made for fans to sort of geek out.
Yeah.
I love that.
have my issues with that.
Shit.
I have my issues with that because I don't think that was the intention, certainly from Todd Phillips and crew.
I think from the media perspective, sure, I think they are trying to push an agenda.
No, it's the fans who are going to go I get why I would like this movie, but Todd Phillips literally said that the reason he's doing this movie is because he feels like he can't do comedies anymore, and he was like, I can be...
Well, Todd Phillips has, like I said, he's lost the goodwill that he had going for this film because he's a bit of a bro himself.
Yeah.
But, I think him saying... I'm just trying to make this highbrow art and all is bullshit. Okay, this is a fucking comic book film. And I think it's just an interesting take. It's like when The Dark Knight came out, Chris Nolan, the Nolan bros think that Chris Nolan is this amazing Stanley Kubrick, and of course those influences are there, but in the end for me he's a populist mainstream blockbuster filmmaker, which is why I like Spielberg. I love Spielberg, and Spielberg makes no qualms about saying that that's who he is. He does different genres, he does it populist, he does it well. I think this movie, and literally it's Todd Phillips, the guy who made The Hangover, okay, he's not trying to, he may have used a lot of influences from movies that have come before, but I think in the end, for me, I just went away saying that was a great Joker standalone comic book film.
This is essentially my issue with this movie. It feels to me, like you're saying, Todd Phillips is a bro. He's taken the broiest aspects of very bro movies like Taxi Driver and Fight Club and King of Comedy and put them in without the subtext or the understanding that those movies carried.
Yeah,
so it's like if a Joker bro went out and made a movie, that would be this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And the only reason you're taking out a more nuanced view of it is because you're a more nuanced person.
Yeah, but
I don't think that makes the movie stronger.
I mean, I don't think it makes my understanding of the movie any lesser. It's I really like the film because of what it tries to achieve in terms of how we see a reverse arc of his character.
You
I
like
like
the
that.
film in the context of everything else around it. Yeah. yeah, I'm saying as a film by itself, I think there are some serious
But
blind spots.
it's impossible to enjoy a film without context, man. Like, how are you supposed to separate this from a Batman mythology? Like,
Yeah.
how are you
don't
supposed to
have
take your
again, like that's
your
a fair
mind off of it?
reading.
Yeah,
And I'm saying I enjoyed it
Yeah.
in a lot of parts. I just feel like there's a distinct lack of understanding of what this dude is saying. So I have issues there. It's a lack of nuance that I have a problem with. Okay,
yeah.
we can keep doing this all day. Let's
Yeah.
do this. We're gonna play a game. It's
But
one of
you think there's like nuance in this film in terms of like?
no, I think it's not there. That's my problem.
No, but I don't think. I mean, I don't see it like as like like this is not an art house film or anything.
Any
like,
story
it's-
has to have nuance. You can't just
No,
say
as
like,
in, like-
here's a thing again and again to me repeatedly and go like, isn't that a great story? Because that's not a great story. You're just saying one thing.
No, but I don't think this film is saying one thing.
It is saying one thing. It's
No,
saying
I think it's
society shit on this guy and then he turned into an asshole. And that's pretty much it. Nothing else happens in this movie.
No, I think it's saying that Arthur is he victimizes himself throughout the movie. He's always the victim,
Exactly.
and that's how he
I
sees
feel
himself.
like not much happens other than the fact that you keep hammering on the fact that this is why Arthur feels the way he does. And that's pretty much it. Which is fine, and that's one way to treat a movie, but I don't think it's enough as a standalone thing. It's not. So if you put this into
Yeah,
the
it's not-
context
it's
of
not
what
enough
happens...
as
Maybe
a
it's
standalone.
maybe it's I don't know about standalone. For me, it's like it feels like this is like a prequel film. I know it's a standalone in the sense that there's not going to be a
I
sequel
don't even
or whatever.
mean in the arc. I'm just
Yeah.
saying as a story by itself.
It's like
not
an
really
origin
a story.
story.
Yet. Yeah.
So-
But it's it feels like a prologue, much like
you know,
Kishore from Chhattisgarh was saying.
You know, it feels like if this movie came out and it was like, here's the Captain Marvel origin film, and here's the film, I'll be like, yeah, fucking great film. That's it. Like, I'd watch it and go like, okay, this is a cool like take on Joker. I like it, and that's what I saw, and it was nice. I don't know much about the like. I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm looking for like some great kind of meaning. Like, I felt like something for this character.
Yeah.
I felt bad, and then I saw him become the Joker, and he's fucking cool, and like it was great.
But that's my problem
Yeah.
To start with.
I know,
right?
you're
Like
saying
the
that there's
fact
no conflict. Yeah, I got
There's
it.
nothing happening other than the fact that everyone's terrible to this guy, and this is why you should also feel terrible for this guy. And it's that same thing said over and over.
I understand, because even the dialogues were like that. Your mom's crazy.
Yeah.
Your mom's crazy. That's like that. I think the dialogue came twice.
Your mom's
Like,
crazy.
By two different people.
Yeah.
Your mom's
Your
crazy.
And the
crazy.
very fact that there's not
Yeah.
one character in this who's in the slightest bit, like even the guy who he says you were the only one who's never nice to me, wasn't ever really nice to him. He's the only one who didn't actively shit on his life.
Yep.
And he took away from that like, oh my god, this is my only friend in the world.
Well, yeah, I mean,
No, I
which
do
is kind of freaky.
understand, because there weren't any hard-hitting dialogues. Like I said, I didn't want to cry for him at any point
no,
in the
I thought
film.
there was some good dialogues. I thought some dialogues were like too over the top. Like I told you, the first
Like the
20
ending
minutes just did not.
had great dialogues.
My favorite line in this,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it was this, where he says like, I just want you to be happy, and he's just like, I've not been happy for a minute of my entire fucking life. Like, I
Yeah.
love that. That
Yeah,
was great.
Also,
Like, yeah,
what
it's-
a bad rep for stand-up comics.
man, but
Yeah.
Gary Gulman is in this film.
Gary
Who I
Gulman.
fucking love. And he does a bit which is from his act anyway, which
From
is
his act,
awesome.
Of course, he's on the Joker movie.
I love it.
All
Amazing.
comedians
He's been
would
talking
put a
about it
bit
for
out on
ages.
the Joker movie.
There was that other comedian also whose name I forget. And Mark Maron's in
Mark
it for like
Maron is
one
there.
hot scene.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Why is
Nice.
Mark Maron in this? Like, he's literally in one scene and that's it. And at the
I'm
end,
guessing he was in more, and then like
Look.
even Robert De Niro was like barely in it.
All of
I
them
thought it
must
was
have
like a
been
glorified
trying,
cameo.
wooing the movie makers to take them on.
Yeah.
Everybody must have been
no,
like,
I
Mark
think-
Maron said like, I'm going to work with Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro. Yeah, okay, cool, I'll do it.
And, yeah, probably. Why would he say no? And Mark Maron's like a good actor now. He's fucking fantastic in Glow.
Yeah.
But honestly, super relatable when he goes up on the open mic stage for the first time and just
Yeah.
starts to laugh hysterically. I'm like, God, there's so many open mics I've gone to where like first timers go on stage and you can see the terror on
How
their
was
faces.
your very first time on stage?
Man, I was dead inside for like the first year of doing comedy. I literally had no, like, even if I bombed, it wouldn't affect me even a little bit. I don't know how I did that.
That's some
but
tough skin, man.
That's interesting. Yeah,
yeah, I went.
No, I don't know if is that good, bad? What is
I
it?
don't know. I'm
You
gonna
feel
have
bad
to,
now, you say?
There was this one time we were playing a theater. It was horrible because
Like
it
a
was
movie theater?
A movie theater, Carnival Cinemas in Lower Parel.
Right.
And it was me, Biswa, Sonali Thakkar, Rahul Subramanian, and Sumaira Sheikh on a lineup, Adar Malik. And we went to this theater and it wasn't full, obviously. So it was just like at the bottom there were maybe 150, 200 people sitting there.
Okay.
All right. And theaters are really bad for stand-up comedy because you will not hear the laugh.
Oh, no.
You will not hear the laugh from stage.
It doesn't come back to you in like Dolby Surround?
In
Not
5.1
at all.
Atmos.
And also, you're so comfortable in there. You're not a laugher once you go into a theater. All right, so now we all go one by one, and it's so hard to make them laugh. All right, like so already you're prepared to go bomb. And Biswa goes on. He's one of the only ones that actually, like, I don't know if you've seen Biswa.
Yeah.
But when he realizes that the room is not warm, he will jump all over the place. Like his act becomes 50% high energy than what it already is, so that he makes them laugh. He'll start yelling.
Nice.
Immediately, like he's also said that I usually intimidate my audience into laughing by yelling at them, and he does it. He killed on that day, and so did Rahul Subramanian, and everybody else got like these few little scatters of laugh here and there. Then I went on, and oh my god, I have never bombed like that in my entire. Like I could hear, like I stood there for 15 minutes and did a set, all right, and from the in the first 5 minutes, I knew it was going to be really bad, and it wasn't going to get better. Because even I didn't feel like I was going to be able to recover.
Do you always know that? Like in the first 3
minutes, I'll know if the set is going to go well. Yeah.
That sucks.
And then I look straight into now I can see them just staring at me. Because you know when people have come to see you do comedy, they're expecting you. So at this point, the audience is intimidating you. They're like, so let's see if she recovers.
Oh, God.
Right? And now...
Why do people like that so much?
Now I'm just like, now I have to finish. Look, as a professional, you got to finish your time. So I got to finish the next, 14 minutes that I have after knowing that I'm about to bomb.
You said 3 minutes is when you know.
and now, like, I can hear people swallow their spit. That's how quiet it is. And I just finished and I got off. And everybody was just, comedians, you empathize. When something like that happens, everybody was like, it's a hard room, man.
And this was the one that
broke
you?
the only time for the next 2 days I was like, should I do this again? But really, once you start doing stand-up comedy, you just can't stop. I don't know what it is. Like you'll like really fail at life and stuff, but this is one thing you just can't stop doing.
I've heard this a lot from like comedians, who say that they just get this, you get addicted to just going on.
Yeah, you can't not do it.
Yeah.
You can't not do it.
But this show is why you killed all those people. Okay, cool.
I didn't have the gun. Someone gave it to me.
It's not even funny.
Someone gave me the gun.
Let's wrap this up with the game I was suggesting earlier. It's a classic Dinkar's game. We're going to play one nice, one bad.
Nice.
This is where we go around the table, Niveditha, and talk about one nice thing and one bad thing we thought about this movie. So Niveditha starts.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
One nice, one bad.
All right. Bad thing.
It's one nice, one bad.
So first one nice.
The rules are very, very strict.
One nice.
But you have to say...
You didn't say what order. One bad, one nice. No, that's fine.
You have to say, my one nice is, and then continue.
All right.
I made up all these rules just now.
They just happened.
Nice thing was perspective. That's what I liked about this film. The bad thing was lack of clarity in dialogue.
You thought it was pretty ambiguous. Like most of it was just like, I felt that too actually.
Yeah, I didn't find a lot of the dialogues hard hitting. Like they could have been more emotional than they were. Like
it was a very cold film. But,
it was a very cold film, but it didn't come across in their conversations.
True.
His acting was great, so I feel like that's why everybody
did you say his acting was great?
Things.
That's a second nice.
Yeah.
Breaking the rules.
3 nice, 1 bad.
My God.
No, but that's like a backhanded compliment for the film. Because I said the reason people aren't talking about the film as a film and talking about him as an actor is because the film isn't as good.
No, I agree. I
see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think his acting is definitely...
is this your one nice, one bad?
Okay, I'll give it to you. One nice, love... I love all the Joker stuff, like towards the end when he becomes
the
the Joker.
movie.
No, the stuff when he puts on the suit and he becomes like a Joker. That was great. I loved all of that. I saw a lot of like Mark Hamill, as I said, and it was just really nice to see that. One bad, I kind of really did not like the first 15 minutes of this film. I just felt it was too on the nose. It was
boring.
It was just It was not even boring. It was just like
it really was. It was like just very one note on the nose. Boring.
But that's my point. Like the moment like stuff happens, like from the moment he gets the gun, I'd say, and then it kind of moves past that to the train sequence. Like then, like things start to happen in the film, and I like all of those things. I will add one more thing. I think the film is a little too long. I think it could have been a little tighter. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
No, right.
But otherwise, I think everything else was like fine. I really liked the film. Yeah.
I think I'm coming from the same point as you, where I do think the first 15 minutes were too on the nose and boring.
Yeah.
Like literally, like we're saying. I just feel like it didn't do enough to absolve itself of that.
Yeah,
it
I agree.
Basically got.
Can I ask you a question
better.
though? I think why a movie like this will get like such a universal kind of appeal is that it does not have, so to speak, the baggage of, say, like in Infinity War and Endgame, they're fighting for stones.
Yeah.
Just like, where's the stone? We gotta go to this planet. So there's like a lot of plot in that.
Yeah.
And this one is a certain lack of it. Like, it's very like moment to moment kind of things. Like
which is why they should have played with the emotions more. And I don't feel like they did that much.
Yeah.
Like even in the first half, they should have played with my emotions more, but they didn't do that.
You want to be
I wanna
toyed with.
cry,
You want your
man.
emotions to be toyed with.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I don't know. Sometimes, when I watch a movie like fucking Tare Zameen Par has a scene where the boy is leaving for boarding school and the mother's watching and she's crying and he's also like, I don't want to go. And then they play a song called Ma. And I was just like, that kind of shit is manipulative, right?
Yeah, but it broke my heart.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like it's like I don't know how much I want to be manipulated. Sometimes like so forcefully. Sometimes, like this movie in the first, like I was saying, the first 20 minutes until there's a plot in this film, it felt like.
But
I get it.
That manipulative note, I think you're perfectly correct. When you first of all, that Tare Zameen Par moment was. Please.
That whole movie.
Heartbreaking.
You know what, that fucking movie, the whole movie, it's saying that, hey, it's okay. You don't have to be special. It doesn't matter. Okay? The whole movie is you are fine as you are. And the end, he has to win a fucking drawing competition? What the is that?
Okay, cool. So, I feel like this movie was still manipulative. They managed to alleviate it somewhat by tying it into the Batman thing towards the end.
That.
Whatever.
I love it. As a fan of that kind of stuff,
this argument is going to go on for like a long time.
Yeah. I love Batman, dude. What?
Yeah, and I hate Batman, as everyone who listens to the show knows.
Why?
I do not.
He doesn't hate
I am
Batman.
like the biggest freaking Batman fan.
We're literally doing a Batman event.
Yeah, I'm a huge Batman fan.
Is it because he's so depressed?
No, I think I like him because he's cool.
I've always wondered
Batman
why
is cool.
people gravitate towards
Are you not a
Batman
Batman
so
person?
much.
The simple answer is because he's human and he has no powers. But sorry,
that's what I've always analyzed why people. No, I'm not a huge Batman fan. I get it. You know what? I'm actually very
Gambit fan,
equal
got
when
it.
it comes to superhero.
He's no Gambit. That's true.
characters. Yeah, he's no Gambit.
Is he
It's
throwing
true.
cards with kinetic energy like at people? I don't think so.
Also, is he as mysterious?
He can throw
Batman is
batarangs as well.
Does he have indestructible steel legs? No, he does not. No,
Also,
it's fine.
I don't think Gambit is a great character. I just have a crush on him.
I have a crush on-
he's
yeah.
sexy.
He's very
His
charming.
name is Remy
He's a
LeBeau.
very charming character. Also,
I
I figured out he has super charm.
He
That's
does have
one of
super
his
charm.
superpowers.
That's how he gets Rogue in
It's like,
the animated
oh my
series.
god, didn't know about that, but it worked
It
on
worked.
me.
Okay, man. All right.
Alright, cool. We're all Batman people.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I love Joker also. He's great.
That's why I love Joker.
I think we like characters because they're flawed. That's why Superman is the least.
No, God, we have to stop
too
this
perfect.
rhetoric of Superman being like so boring. Superman is one of the most interesting characters ever, guys. You must read Superman for all seasons. Okay, fine. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm not going to do this.
All right, Niveditha, thanks so much for being
Thank
here.
you for having me. I had a lot
You're
of
the
fun.
best, man. We really
Yeah.
enjoy your company. Seriously.
Yay.
I think you've got to come back, and then we're going to get into this Batman v Superman thing.
Yes,
We don't do
yes.
that enough on this show.
Yeah.
All right.
Watch Lewis and Clark and everything.
Yes. Oh, great.
With T.
All right.
Hatcher.
We're gonna write into us actually and talk to our listeners now, by the way.
Got it.
Hey listeners!
You mean listener? Go ahead.
Listener.
Kishore from Chhattisgarh.
He's a big fan, but he said he was last time caller. He's never going to call again, and thank God for that. All right, if you guys listening have your thoughts on Joker, because clearly there's a lot to think about this movie, please write into us. We're at GeekFruitHQ on all the socials, or contact geekfruit@gmail.com on the emails. And until next time, bye, you nerds.
What do we have to do?
Welcome to What a Play, you guys. This is the favorite sports podcast of several sports persons such as myself, Dudeja and Mikhail, who also happen to be the hosts.
Yes, you should definitely listen to our podcast for our take and quite a uninformed but hilarious take on sports every week. We give out awards, we discuss what happened in the world of sports, and
we take breaks as well.
We come up with jingles and sound effects on the go. So you should definitely give us an example of a sound effect, Dudeja.
Bolo Matthew Vade.
Yeah, tune in for some of that, bro. You can catch us on the IVM network every Wednesday on the go. On the Wednesday, in the Wednesday. Yeah. Wednesday, what a player. What a player, W. Wednesday, W.
Wow. Oh, Wednesday.
Wednesday to Wednesday, what a player, Matthew Vade.
Did you know that Parsis in Mumbai, instead of being left at the Tower of Silence after they die, are now cremated? And why? Because a cow fell sick in the early 1990s. Did you know that the smog in Delhi is caused by something that farmers in Punjab do and that there's no way to stop them? Did you know that there wasn't one gas tragedy in Bhopal, but 3? One of them was seen, but 2 were unseen. Did you know that many well-intentioned government policies hurt the people they're supposed to help? Why was demonetization a bad idea? How should GST have been implemented? Why are all our politicians so corrupt when not all of them are bad people? I'm Amit Verma, and in my weekly podcast, The Seen and the Unseen, I take a shot at answering all these questions and many more. I aim to go beyond the seen and show you the unseen effects of public policy and private action. I speak to experts on economics, political philosophy, cognitive neuroscience, and constitutional law so that the insights can blow not only my mind, but also yours. The Seen and the Unseen releases every Monday. So do check out the archives and follow the show at seenunseen.in. You can also subscribe to The Seen and the Unseen on whatever podcast app you happen to prefer.